freedom across the world, but it has barely made the news. So here is a quick breakdown. Just weeks ago, the US government quietly cut funding to Radio Free Asia and previously the Voice of America. Now, this might sound like another budget cut, but for people living in some of the world's most oppressed regions, it's devastating. From North Korea to China to Laos, Vietnam, Myanmar, and Cambodia.
What are we going to do about the 360 million weekly audience around the world who depend on us to provide crucial information? And now that vacuum is being filled by our adversaries.
The absence of these critical platforms will leave their listeners at the mercy of state propaganda, eroding the foundation of democracy and human rights. Since China's illegal invasion of Tibet in 1950, they have worked relentlessly to erase Tibetan identity, history, culture, language, religious freedom, and independent thoughts. Against this backdrop, VOA and RFA found ways to break through China's Great Firewall and provide daily updates about His Holiness the Dalai Lama and their siblings in exile. They allowed Tibetans to hear their own language spoken freely, an unbiased connection to the outside world to remind them that they hadn't been forgotten.
For my reporting, I have talked to many sources from inside Tibet who go out to the countryside to listen to our broadcasts. And this is what drives us to work even harder to reach our audiences.
And here's what breaks my heart. The US did not shut these services because it couldn't afford them. The cost of these services is less than half the cost of one F-35, which is over $100 million. Just a month of jet fuel can easily keep the Tibetan services running for years. So this wasn't a budget necessity, it was a choice. Meanwhile, on the other hand, China spends over $10 billion annually expanding its global propaganda machinery. Now, these cuts are at the worst possible time as China is doubling down on repression inside occupied Tibet, implementing forced labor programs, colonial boarding schools, and mass surveillance system to monitor every aspect of Tibetan life. Chinese state media like the Global Times, the Beijing Daily are celebrating and welcoming this move because for them, this isn't just a win. It's the removal of one of the last checks for their narratives.
Subject to much reporting by Radio Free Asia, had this response. I think it's no secret that some of the US media you mentioned have a notorious track record when reporting on China.
But my dear friends, we can do something. Contact your representatives, email them, visit them, call on Congress to immediately restore funding to Voice of America and Radio Free Asia. Your actions will be a lifeline to those who are being silenced. The voice of the voiceless must continue to be heard. Thank you.